Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a podcast. Not only is this a podcast, but it's our journey. A journey that we hope you want to ride out with us as we intend to educate you guys, inspire, talk about past and current experiences, and to make one thing, to stop judging others. Most importantly, stop judging yourself based on others' views and perceptions. With that said, you'll be hearing from me, myself, Austin Kirshner, but along with our journey on this podcast will be my mother, Kathy Kirshner, and my brother, Dylan Kirshner. With that said, welcome to Silencing of Stigma. We're going back to the roots.
Let's go. Before he passes out,
You
I'm
can just
ready.
start recording now, and then we'll just start it.
That sounds good to me.
Like, what do you mean, just like start talking right now?
Yeah, because you can edit this out, right?
Yeah, I can edit it all out. I'm actually honestly been recording for 2 minutes now, so
Good.
good.
Can we have a playback?
The less I know, the better. Just keep going. It's too late for that. Now you know.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Silencing of Stigma podcast. I have my brother and my mother back with me on today's episode, but more importantly, we have our very first episode with two guests other than our family. Before we get started, when the first thought of the podcast began in my head, I instantly grabbed a pen and paper and started writing ideas of what to talk about and everything I wanted to achieve with this podcast, along with a list of some of the many guests I would like to have on the podcast. And to be honest, these two guys were the first two that kind of popped in my head. And it's an honor and a blessing to have these two with us today to share everything they experienced as individuals and brothers through their lives. And with that said, I want to welcome you guys, Teo and Dom, to the podcast.
Thank you, Austin. What's going on?
Not much. So we were kind of just talking before the podcast. I mean, you guys want to talk about your story. We would like to hear that. So, Teo, if you want to get started, that would be awesome.
Of course. Again, my name is Teo, and my sobriety date is June 13th, 2018. The day I decided that enough was enough, and I didn't want to live the same way I was living before. Now, it all started just like any other kid, you know, when you're 16 years old, you know, you're smoking weed, you're drinking, you know, you have all these, you know, your friends are just, you know, you're just hanging out, you know. So for me, it all started like that.
So you were 16 when you started?
Pretty
What you're
much,
saying?
yeah. I was
Okay.
16. I wasn't all about it at all. 13, 14, 15. And when 16 rolled around, I started smoking cigarettes.
Was it a group of friends you were hanging out with, or was it something like it was your own
Yeah,
choice?
no, it was definitely a group of friends.
Okay.
Definitely peer pressure kind of thing. But then I just kind of like made my own choices. I
Okay.
decided to do it, you know.
Gotcha.
Like smoking and drinking and smoking weed. That's what all my friends were doing. So that's what I wanted
I feel like
to
that's
do.
like a trend.
Yeah. So that's what I started to do. And over time, when I was 16, 17, 18, was still doing the same things. Smoking almost every day, drinking on the weekends. And when I was out of school, drinking and smoking began to progress, I should say. Smoking every day was still a thing. I was playing lacrosse for this college in Maryland. I was rooming with one of my really good friends, one of my best friends, and two other guys. And eventually I just decided to quit playing lacrosse. I got tired of it. It wasn't fun anymore. So I decided to work for this lacrosse company instead. I didn't last very long at the college, but, you know, it is what it is.
When you went to college, by the time you went to college, what all have you done, like drug-wise? Was it just smoking weed?
It was just smoking weed and drinking at that time. Again, a little bit of shrooms, maybe some acid every now and again. Very, very rare, though. But nothing began to progress until after college, and I started working full-time at 18.
So we talked about in our last podcast, if you guys remember, that you guys said marijuana is a gateway drug. Do you remember talking about that?
Yes.
Do you guys believe in that? Do you?
I believe that now because when I stopped using, I began right back to smoking weed a few months later. As soon as I started smoking weed, it wasn't enough for me. I had to start drinking. I felt like I needed to drink.
So we talked about that also, as far as either the drug you guys were using at the time wasn't strong enough, or you guys weren't feeling the same effects, and then you guys progressed, like you said, to the next thing, and then you go from marijuana to alcohol to, and then you just keep going down the list. Is that something that you just guys want the high that's
I wanted
stronger?
to experience it just to see what it was like, and I probably should have.
Here's
never
my
done
outlook
that.
on the gateway drug thing.
Yeah.
It's if you're open-minded enough to try something illegal like smoking weed at 14 or 15, that means you're open-minded enough to try something else. Is what my idea was.
Right.
And so I was going to surround myself with a group of friends that were doing illegal things, and it's the idea of getting away with something, and then you're starting to do illegal things, making drug deals and going around smoking weed, and that's just like a whole nother side that some people aren't willing to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You're looking
Getting
for the
that
next high.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the first one. They always say you're always chasing that dragon. You know what I mean? Like you're always chasing that very first high. That very first, man, I feel great. I want to feel just like that over and over and over and over.
But why do you want to feel like that? Like, is there anything that you compare to it without using?
Once I started smoking weed and realized I could escape what I was thinking, it was a mission and a search to constantly end the inner conversation I was having.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The insecurities.
To drown that inner voice out.
Yeah, it's a battle with myself.
Yep.
A daily battle with myself. Every day I wake up with the same demons, the same insecurities, the same things, and I would do. Once I found something that would take those insecurities away, even if it was for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I was willing to do anything it took to get there.
Now, as a non-user, like, I feel the same way. I get the same things in my head as far as your insecurities and stuff like that. But like, I guess my outing is fitness in a way. Like that's kind of, I want to call that my drug. So that's what I'm obsessed with, and that's where I take all my insecurities and problems and stuff like that, and I take it to the gym and I work it out.
Yeah. See,
So can you guys relate to that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, once
Now.
I've gotten sober,
Okay.
but the difference between me and you found a healthy way to cope with your problems.
Right.
I found a way to escape it in an unhealthy way.
With a substance.
Drinking, yes, and I found that worked. At the beginning, it worked and it was fun. You know what I mean? And so I was willing to do whatever it took and surround myself with people that wanted to do the same thing. So
Right.
when I was in high school and I started using, if you didn't have drugs or weren't buying drugs, or if you weren't using drugs with me, I didn't want to be around you. It was simply for self-gain, and that's what I've surrounded myself with.
Now I can, yeah, because we went to the same high school together, obviously. We
Yep.
graduated in the same class, and now that you say that, I can actually understand that, like, you actually didn't really go around any other people than the kids you hung out with.
Yeah, and it was a progression. 9th grade, we played basketball together. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
And then I was friends with that group of friends. And then as high school went on, I would like to say confused because I went through different phases like skater, stoner,
Yeah, I remember that.
farmer. And then by my senior year is when I started using heroin and all sorts of drugs. And I just completely went a different route. You know what I mean? Went to a different group of friends that had the same interests as me. And that was self-destruction.
Did you feel yourself going that different route, or did you not know it in the moment?
No, I definitely knew what was going on. Well, I didn't know what I know now. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I knew I was with a different group of people, but I didn't know what it was going to lead to. You know what I mean?
So, does Teo know at this point that you're doing drugs?
My senior year, yeah, is when we initially started using together.
So
Because
you
I
guys
started with
usually-
my group of friends, and then I started hanging out with him and his group of friends. Because he's my older brother. You know what I mean? You always
Right.
want to be hanging out with your older brother.
Yeah, I relate to that because me and Dylan, obviously, I don't know how Dylan felt about it, but Kyle, we always wanted to be his friends, and like
I don't know.
I remember.
That,
Do you remember that one time when I mean, we can't really say names, but his friends were over, and it was like when we were in elementary or something like that, and he actually came to you, Mom, and cried that we were hanging out with his friends. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I do.
That.
Like, that's the kind of things, like, and we felt good about that. Like, I felt good, like, yeah, cool. Like, my brother's friends wants to hang out with me. But, yeah. So, back to you and Teo, you guys. So, Teo, you knew that Dom was doing it. Like, so my dad had a question as far as, did you ever want to say, hey, Dom, like, this isn't the right path you should be going down, and possibly stop him from going down that path? Or
I mean, to be honest, we were both going down the same path. We were just doing it together. I didn't really have any thought process of it. Like, hey, man, I don't think you should be doing this. This is not the right path you should be taking. Don't be like me. Let's go. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
so you guys had the same thought process,
pretty much.
basically.
I mean,
Would
at
you-
that time, I had my own house that I ended up losing, but he would always come over, and at that time, I didn't have any electric. I didn't have no cable, no heat, nothing.
And you still came over?
Absolutely. Let's just
Nothing.
say I was living at my parents' house and smoking weed and using drugs wasn't acceptable there. So Teo's
that-
house was prime.
Was that the garage?
My shed?
Your shed? Yeah, your shed.
My shed was my little apartment out back.
But later, our parents demolished it because they got tired of all the stuff they
They knew
used
I
what
didn't
was
know
going
that.
on. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, they demolished it.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Teo was doing the same thing. And so in our situation, Kyle shielded them from it.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't really talk to them about it.
You shielded all of us.
So we didn't know. So that was how he dealt with it. He didn't want us to know. In your case, you were both doing it together, and you both like doing it, obviously, and
Yeah.
it was what you did. So it wasn't Teo, you weren't in a state to say you shouldn't do this because
No.
you were doing it and it was great. Like
Yeah.
at that point, it was great. So like I get that. I guess my question is back to Dom is, so you said you did it for your demons, but at the beginning, did you have demons that you were trying to get rid of, or did it start out as you were just partying and then you realized it took away the demons?
Well, the first couple of times I started smoking weed, it was obviously just curiosity. You know what I mean? I didn't know what was going to take place. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But, and smoking weed does different things for me. I mean, I've done drugs for so long that, like, each thing I've realized, like, chemically does something different for me. Like, smoking weed makes me more nervous, makes me have more anxiety. So I don't really enjoy smoking weed like I used to, but now drinking completes me. I can talk to girls, I can last longer in bed, I can, you know what I mean? It does a lot for me that I
Yep.
enjoy, and that's why alcohol, like, when I talk to people about it, I consider it a marriage. I was married to alcohol. I did anything for it. If it told me not to go to work, I didn't go to work. If it told me to go to work, I went to work. If it told me to spend money, I spent money. If it told me to sleep with this girl, I slept with that girl. I was married to it. I was dedicated to it. Every day, I'd wake up and I'd drink. Every single day. And so, like, when people say, like, quitting drinking was like going through a divorce. It was really tough. And going to a gas station every day where they sell alcohol, it's really hard. Like, seeing your ex-wife every day. And, you know what I mean? And sometimes you just want to go back to it and be like, hey, maybe it'll work one more time. And that's what I compare it to. Like a divorce that you're just trying to cut off, but it's so hard.
I like that comparison.
Okay. So, and you did it for recreation, or you did it for the same thing?
Well, recreation at first, and then it just became a job. Really.
No, it's a full-time job. If you use like me and him did, it takes everything.
You would wake up and feel sick with no money, you know, and nothing, because we stole everything we could. We sold everything we could. I had nothing left. And you look at each other and you're just like, well, how the hell are we going to find this? Who can we scam? What can we do with $5 in your pocket? And it's not going to food, I'll tell you that. It's going in the gas tank so I can get to point A to point B or do what I need to do. Well, who needs some? Hey, you need some? Yeah, I'm going to skimp you. So we have what we need.
So
You know
give
what I
us
mean?
an example of what a day of a user's like when you're
Shoot.
full-fledged to it.
Well, you're waking up in the same clothes you wore for 2 days.
Hey, I do that sometimes.
Same clothes. You haven't brushed your teeth. You haven't combed your hair. That goes out the window because right now you're sick. You know, it feels like a bad flu. You're hot. You're cold.
The worst flu you've ever had in your life.
And if you're throwing up and ain't nothing coming out, it's mostly bile or something yellow is coming out. And you wake up, man, I can't feel like this all day. No. And you start getting in your phone, you know, and scheming pretty much. What can I sell? What can I take? Will the pawn shop take this? What time do they open? Pawn shops won't give you too much at all for anything unless it's, you know, just think of what you think that item's worth, cut that in half,
Yeah,
and then
it's
cut
never
that in half. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you really talk to each other. Hey, does anybody need anything? Anybody need anything? And then nobody needs anything. Hey, can you spot me? Can you spot me? It's like, yeah, I'll have money tomorrow. I'll have money tomorrow. No, damn well in your head. No, you're not gonna have money tomorrow.
And if I do have money, I'm not paying.
I'm
him.
not paying you. Yeah, exactly.
So pretty much, you wake up feeling a way that you know you're not going to feel like that all day. You're going to
Exactly.
do whatever it takes to not feel like this.
And it's just
no
for that-
matter what. And unfortunately, usually loved ones are the ones that are in the way. The
Yep.
first ones getting stolen from
from.
because they're the only ones that give a shit enough to even be around you for a short amount of time. So you just force them to not even want to be around you anymore. So they're the first ones. Like we stole gold from my mom. My mom's sister died and left her wedding ring, and we pawned it.
Do you feel any guilt at all doing
Absolutely.
Well, now.
And, what was
Now,
it? Probably
definitely.
about a year or two ago, we called my mom on the phone and just like apologized. Kind of like one of the steps in AA is making amends. And like we were on the phone together and just kind of like apologized for everything. You know what I mean? Because we put my family through hell, dude.
And
Like,
they understood? Like, they...
yeah, my mom's a recovering addict, and my dad
He dealt
isn't,
with
but
it for a long time.
he understands it. Because my mom was not a drunk, but an alcoholic, and with us, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, he saw it firsthand. Us
Gotcha.
go from normal kids playing sports, you know what I mean, to just
When you
Stealing out
say
your bank
when you
account.
say normal, do you guys believe in normal? Is there such thing as normal?
Let's say we grew up with loving parents. You know what I mean? We played sports. We were up the street playing with the kids. You know,
white
To
picket
us,
fence, the dog,
I mean, we
parents
didn't have.
married, you know what I mean?
I mean, that was normal to us. You know, we would be out all night, and then we would be back for dinner. You know, we didn't really have any video games. Really, I mean, we had like Nintendo or PlayStation. We didn't really play it that much. We were always outside, you know, playing. So I mean, that was pretty normal to us. And then once we started using, that totally went out the door. We weren't playing outside. We were playing with our lives, really.
Yeah.
Back to when you're doing the day of an addict. You said you would text everybody and be like, "Hey, you guys need anything?" When you say that, you're talking about drugs.
Correct.
And when you're like, what is that? A group of friends you're sending that to, or is
Yeah.
that just
Well, anybody I know that was using, pretty
Okay.
much, or I knew
Gotcha.
that had money.
okay? Gotcha.
You know, hey, do you need something? They got a great deal. He's got a great deal going on. Total bullshit. So
So you just kind of said that to
yeah, get
Okay.
the ball
Okay,
rolling. You know,
gotcha.
like as a salesman. You
Okay.
know?
And then
I
he's a
got-
salesman.
I gotta,
Okay,
I gotta
gotcha.
pitch it. You
Yep.
know? So
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's called middlemaning. You are the
Yeah,
middleman
we
of
are
the deal. So
exactly.
you tell them I can get whatever drugs. You can get them for $10 a piece. You're telling this person 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So that you
Okay.
can make money and
Gotcha.
survive for the day.
I
You
feel
know?
like Kyle been good at that.
Everyone does it at some point.
I remember Kyle coming to me all the time. Yo, you got $20 on you? Hey, I need gas. I need $20 of gas put in my car. Sure, here's
Yeah, and then he only
$20.
puts $5 in his
Yeah,
gas tank.
see the $5. You
And
know,
I-
It's always $5.
$5.
But we never knew what was going on. So like now I know. Like I would have been like, oh, dude, like I'm not paying you. And I do remember one moment I was like, dude, I'm not paying you. Like you have a job, go get your own fucking money. And he got pissed at me. Like he started. I'm like, why are you getting so mad at me, dude? Like you have money, you have a job, go get it yourself. And he actually ended up getting pissed at me. But that was just one situation. And
How would have you guys known? You know what I mean? You were never exposed to it. You had no
that's what I mean. That's
no reason to think that's what he was doing. You know what I mean? So it was.
And we kind of talked about that in the last podcast. Then we had one moment where he lived in Florida at a point, and his roommate actually called and left a really long message on the phone to us about Kyle. What was basically what he said?
He was doing bad things.
He was doing bad things, but again, in the podcast before, like she said, like she wanted to trust her own kid, and like what parent wouldn't want to trust their own kids? You know what I mean? So she didn't believe that Kyle or in general me or Dylan would ever do that kind of thing. So to her, she was defending Kyle. So she didn't want to take his side, saying, "Oh yeah, well maybe my son is doing bad things." Instead, she was like, I can't believe that." Like, and then Kyle talked to you about it and convinced you that he was not doing bad things. It was the other guy. So
Then
he
I
switched
sent
the
more
whole.
money.
He
We're
switched.
great manipulators.
Yeah. So he switched the
Yes.
story around. But yeah. So like you said, like how were we supposed to know? We didn't. We weren't educated, and that's kind of what we want to do with this podcast is educate people to pick up on maybe signs like we missed or something like that, and get people help that they need. So
You see, Kathy, how you would send Kyle money to Florida, you believed him. That's what Dominic was doing to our mother, too.
you did the same thing, Dom.
Yes.
I
So
lived
you always take advantage of the mother.
Yeah.
it's gonna be the ones closest to you that always get burnt
Yep.
first, because they're the ones that are gonna be
'Cause-
around and try to help you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And the toughest thing for like a parent or someone that is watching a loved one go through it is finding that line between enabling them and helping them, because it's a fine line between you just like sending them money to get high or like trying to literally help them. Because like some people, they don't want to kick their kid out. They know they're using in the basement or whatever, but it's like, do I kick him out, just let him use on the street, or do I let him do it here where I know he's safe and at least I go to bed at night knowing he's downstairs? You know what I mean? And it's a tough spot. I mean, I don't have any kids, but I put my mom through it. So, you know what I mean? And I was the baby. I was the youngest. So I knew, like, I could always talk to my mom and she'd never kick me out. She'll
Was he the
always give me
favorite?
money.
Was he?
But I pushed my mom to a point where she said, you got to get out. And it killed her. And she ended up moving to a different state, literally just because
Sold her house.
Yeah, they needed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did that help you then when they said you get out?
Yeah, I mean, when I was 19 or 20, I slept in the dugouts down at the Red Line Junior High School and at the baseball field. Is when my mom first kicked me out and I had nowhere to go. And I slept outside in the dugout so I wouldn't get rained on and the wind wouldn't hit me. And that's when my mom was waiting for me to say I'll go to rehab. And I called her and I said, hey, come pick me up. I'll go to rehab. And she sent me to California. Refinanced her house and paid cash, like $30-some thousand to send me to Southern California to go to rehab for 3 months. And once I got out of rehab, I was using within a month.
So we were talking a little bit before the podcast about hitting rock bottom, or what that moment was to switch your mindset into actually wanting to recover and be a non-user. But like, what kind of moments were those for you guys, experiences, as far as like, oh wow, like maybe I should switch and do.
I had one. Well, the other times, obviously, they weren't really like, oh man.
Like, I'm looking for like the time that you're like, this is it. Like, I'm done.
All right, so the other times I was just doing it for like my family and everyone because they wanted me clean. This last time they got me sober, I had nowhere to live, living out my car. All my clothes, all my shoes were in my car. I met this lady while trying to get crack. Just met her just at this other house. I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, come over here and sit. So I sat down, started smoking weed. And she's like, well, you come back tomorrow. I said, okay. Didn't end up getting crack. I was withdrawing hard, had no money in my gas tank. She said, I'll give you $10 if you come over. Mind you, this lady's hideous, gross, super nasty. And then I go over there, and I'm just surprised. Usually men want something. I'm thinking in my head, what? Not for me, I'll tell you that.
I got a brother.
I was like, I need that $10. And that $10 honestly didn't even really go to my gas tank. I actually sat there smoking a blunt thinking, I'm tired of living this way. I cannot keep going like this. I was, again, wearing the same clothes, feeling nasty, no money, living out the car. And I just decided, I was like, I got to call somebody. So I was literally in her house. And I called this lady, or texted this lady I know from Not One More. She got in touch with this lady who called me and I said, listen, I need to go to rehab. I need something. I need to go somewhere. I can't live like this. She's like, all right, well, I'll call you right back. 20 minutes later, she called me back. She said, there's a place called Teen Challenge. They'll pick you up in 20 30 minutes. I said, okay, well, here's the address. Somewhere outside of East Philadelphia Street where you had the rent a room. So then I was like, all right, I got to go. Didn't even tell her my real name. Didn't want her to know my real name, so she couldn't look me up on Facebook. Right? I was like, all right, well, I got to go. So I'll see you later. Like, call Dominic. Hey, Dominic, listen, I'm going to rehab. I need you to watch my car. Please, can you do that for me?
I'm the perfect candidate.
Here is $10. He said, all right, well, I'm going to put 5 in gas. I'm going to get 5 in Locos.
4 locos.
Yeah, I guess.
Said, I don't care. Just watch my car. Make sure nothing happens to
This is 2 years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then they picked me up. Teen Challenge is the place that picked me up. Changed my life. I got there. Was not happy. Didn't want nothing to do with that place. It's all guys, all dudes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I'm thinking in my head,
Was the chick better at that point?
yeah, pretty much in my head, I was like, I need something to look at. You know what I mean? There's my family's left me. You know, I had nothing, so I need something to look at. So I called my mom, and she didn't answer. You know what I mean? I think that was the best thing that could have happened. And I was like, I'm just gonna give it my all and give it the best thing I could do. It was a Christian rehab, which I really liked, and I met a lot of good guys there. It really changed my life. They got me into the Bible, got me reading the Bible. They got me to praying. I still pray to this day, every morning, every night, throughout the day, and I pray on my way to work every single day. And things just started to change. I went back to Bob Allen's house, which was the Beacon. And the first time I was there, I lied the whole time, told him I was working 90-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks. That was a lie, which was totally false. He knew it. He told me this time, listen, if you don't do, before I even went back to the house, he said, you got to do everything I say or you can get the fuck out. I said, well, I'll do everything you say. I mean, I want to change. I want something different. I've got tired of living the same way I was living. So I did everything that he asked me to do repeatedly. I got a sponsor, still my sponsor to this day. He's a great guy, no bullshit, doesn't sign any of my shit, tells me how it is, and I need that.
You ever think about being a sponsor yourself someday?
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody asks me, I'll definitely sponsor. I'm definitely all about it. Okay. I want them to experience what I experienced. Just a total change. You got to change everything.
Yep.
How you think, how you react to things. It's just a whole mindset of change. And you just feel different and better. And all you want to do is help people. And it's a big thing. So.
Great.
And
2 years now.
2 years.
That's
Yeah,
sweet.
congrats on
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
That's
congrats,
awesome.
man.
That's awesome. And he watched your car for you the whole time?
Yeah, why don't you tell him what happened to my car, bud?
Oh, man.
It might have been 24 hours after we left it. I used it because I didn't have a vehicle at the time, and I drove it across town to try to get some dope, some heroin, and I parked it on this little ledge behind my dealer's house in the back alley off West Market Street in a bad spot, and the shifter on the column broke off. I swear, I shit you not, broke off. So after I got my drugs, I walked back across York City to East Philadelphia Street where I was living, and I was like, I'll go back and get it tomorrow. You know what I mean? I was parked right in front of some dude's garage, right behind his house, and I walked back the next day, and it was gone. Never seen it again.
You never found this car?
Never found
your
all
car.
my clothes, all my shoes.
So when you got out of rehab, hey, you got my car.
Somebody
Maybe,
has it.
maybe that would have been. Maybe that was a good thing though.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
was
fresh start. Like
Fresh start.
get rid of all
definitely.
your clothes, everything.
Did you ever call the police on that car? Or
No, there was needles in it and
Okay.
all sorts of paraphernalia. It would have been a charge of
Why?
More than the car?
If they, yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. My
Well-
needles, the needles he left behind, bags of them.
I mean, they could have found me. I left my ID in there too, so. On
Okay.
accident.
So is it normal? I'm just asking this question because Kyle had his car stolen once.
I remember that.
Do you guys
actually.
steal cars?
I wasn't.
I'll
like-
loan my car out so I
Yeah.
can get something in return.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he called the cops.
Was his car really stolen? Because
Well,
we always
we
question
found
that.
it in a parking lot. He found it himself a couple days later. And, I'm not sure. Now that what I know now, I'm thinking that he must have owed somebody money or something because they stole his car and took it 2 blocks away and parked it in a parking spot. But he went crazy. I mean, he called the cops. The cop brought him home, and he calls me. He's like, Mama, someone stole my car today. I was like, this ain't
The
right.
little Saturn, right?
Yeah.
The little
Purple
Saturn, the
one.
purple one.
I'm
Yeah.
like, this ain't right. And now today, so I'm just curious. So you would borrow cars.
No, we would.
No, I
loan-
would loan.
Okay.
my
So
vehicle
dealers
out.
and stuff,
Yeah.
if they didn't have their own car or wanted to go around in a car not in their name to do
Okay.
whatever they were doing, bad things mostly, you'd either rent a car for them from Enterprise or something in
Okay.
your name, not in theirs, or just lend them your car for the day and they'll give you drugs for it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, here, you can take my car, go do your deals or whatever bad
Okay.
things you want to do in it.
Okay, crazy. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So Dom, if you don't mind me asking, how long have you been clean?
I started getting clean in February 2019 was when I made the decision that I wanted to actually get clean. You know what I mean? It wasn't forced, wasn't probation, wasn't court ordered. Since then, I've had some mess ups. I can call them relapses.
Yeah.
Quite a few, mostly drinking. Since then, I've relapsed twice on heroin last year, once this year at the beginning of this year. And those were both because I was drunk and decided I was just gonna, you know what I mean? Drinking nowadays affects me differently because I go on like these suicide missions where I get drunk and it's a completely different me. You know what I mean? It's not the
Like a depressed.
yeah, and it's not the old Dominic where I would drink and have fun. And, you know what I mean? It's different now. It's
Hits you
completely different. Yeah, and once you experience sobriety, using is never the same. It doesn't have that same like enjoyment because
You always have guilt then? Is
Yeah,
that what it is?
immediately, it's guilt.
So it's like pressure.
Yeah, kind of, but
You're putting pressure on yourself.
yeah, because I mean, I know I don't want to live that way. You know what I mean? And say I'm clean for 4 months and I use one time.
Yeah.
Say it's 100 days. Out of those 99 days, I'm cool and I don't want to use. And it's just that 1%, that one day. It's usually on a weekend for some reason because I'm not working. I'm a workaholic. I love working.
Yeah.
I work every time and they have overtime and shit. Same way my mom is. So it's when I have free time. You know what I mean? And I don't. And I immediately stopped doing the things that I changed to get sober. I stopped talking to Teo. I don't go to the gym that day. I lie about where I'm at. I lie about how much money I have. And then sure enough, I relapse. It just builds. You know what I mean? As soon as you stop doing the shit you changed to get sober, it's a relapse.
What, like, so if you, before you relapse, if you had someone to tell you, like, there to tell you, don't do this, it's not worth it, would that help you? Or would you still want to do it?
Depends how far along I am in the, like, because for me, a relapse happens a couple days before I actually pick up a drink. It's when I start doing the little
The
things.
thought.
Yeah, the little shit. Like I start lying and I stop telling people where I'm at.
Can you
And it
catch yourself in that moment? Or is it just like,
it's once you let the ball start rolling, even if you
Downhill
catch
spiral.
yourself, it's so powerful. In AA they say cunning, baffling, and powerful is the disease, and you lie to yourself in your own voice.
yeah.
So in your head, you're just telling yourself, it's so small. I could just drink a beer today. It's so small. You know what I mean? You'll minimize it.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you play the tape through, I know exactly where it's going to lead every time. Me being sad, me being depressed, me making terrible decisions. You know what I mean? And that's not what I want. But once I let that ball start rolling, it's bad. And that's why you got to have people in your life that check you, like a check and balance system, like Teo. That's like my role model. And when I'm healthy, I
Yeah.
run shit past him. You know what I mean? And that's what we're here for, to check each other.
Right.
Just like back in the day when we used to be running partners. You know what I mean? If I couldn't steal shit, he'd be stealing shit. If he couldn't scam someone, I'd be scamming someone. But now we do it differently in a healthy way. He checks me. When he sees me starting to slip or do dumb shit, that's you need people in your life like that.
Now, when he checks you, how do you take that? Do you take it as, man, I'm good, like I got this, or do you, because I don't know how to explain it, or do you like accept that from him and say, like, I need to check myself?
For the most part, I take it in a good way. You know what I mean? Unless I feel like he's being a dickhead, then I'm like, but like being able to accept it is growth. You know what I mean? Not taking everything personally.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you got to look at it in a different way now. He's looking out for me, you know?
Yeah.
Not taking everything personal. Like, don't want you to just worry about yourself. I mean, he's there to actually help me. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
But you guys think about this every day. Like, addiction in general, not even just drugs. Like, when you're addicted to something, you think about it every day. Like,
There are definitely, even being 2 years sober, I still think about it. Like, in your head, man, maybe I can, I can get away with it, you know what I mean, at one time. But then you just check yourself, you know what I mean, and stop, pump the brakes. Wow. You do that, and you're going to end up right back where you were. You're going to lose everything again, You're going to be in the...
right down the drain.
Exactly. And then you're going to have all these agains. I did it again. I lost everything again. You know what I mean? And you really have to, I believe in God, so I believe that God puts things in front of me to really make me think. You know what I mean? when these things start happening, you see someone get in trouble for that kind of stuff. You see someone lose their job because of that stuff. You know,
See it as a sign.
Exactly, as a
Yep.
sign, as of like, wow, he's, keep your head on straight.
Yep.
Keep following me, and I'll keep, guiding you. So, and I believe in that. And Dominic, he checks me just as much as I check him. I run shit by him that makes me super angry. There are times he don't co-sign my bullshit. He tells me, how it is. I don't like it, but I listen.
One of the things, and we talk about stigma, so to bring it a little bit into that, what I've learned through just going to meetings and stuff is everybody in the world thinks, a drug addict is weak and they're low lives and things like that. What I've learned over the past 3 years since I started getting involved is you have to be the strongest person. I mean, for Dom to sit here right now and say, you know what, like I relapsed a couple times, people think like that's hard.
They overlook it.
You know what I mean? Like they look at people and they judge people. And my thing with the stigma is you have to be stronger than shit to pick back up after you screw up and start again today, because you can get into this spiral, and not just with a drug addiction, with any addiction, and think, I'm just giving in. Like it isn't even worth it anymore. So anybody that's dealing, like I respect that you relapse, but you picked yourself back up the next day. Like I met tons of people who do that, and they're strong enough to keep going. Like I made a mistake and I got to keep going. And then someday that story is going to be, you're going to be sitting here saying, you know what, I'm 2 years and he's going to be 4 years. So like the stigma, it doesn't allow people to talk about it. Like
Everybody's scared of what they're gonna think about you.
Yeah.
Like I mean, some people are judgmental and some aren't. I don't judge people, but when I hear stories and I go to meetings, I'm like, wow, like that is strong. Like
Inspiring.
you're a strong person to get up there and say that and turn your life around and try again. And we all fail. Like we all fail sometimes, but that's the stigma part that I want to change, so that people are comfortable. Like, why didn't Kyle say anything? He didn't say anything because he was embarrassed by it, and so he fought it. I mean, we knew he did marijuana. I never knew he did anything else, but he would tell me everything about his girls, what he did with his girls. Like, he would sit at the table and tell me this stuff, and when it happened, I'm like, why couldn't he tell me that? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I put notes in his marijuana bag, like, you owe me rent money. Like, I did stuff like that. And, like, I gave him, like, opportunity to say stuff, and he didn't. And I'm just wondering if, because he thought if he would have said something, the stigma's there that he's not important. He disappointed me as a parent or whatever. So, and the other thing that I have to say is God's, like, important. I pray every day, too. Like, I pray all the time. I'm always talking to God, and I believe in the 12 steps, and we had this argument, is this the second step, that you have to believe in a higher power?
Well, what is it? The
It's
first
the
is that
first one
you're powerless over the drug. Second is the higher power,
Okay.
I believe.
That's what I thought. Well, we are, in our last podcast, I thought it was number one. I'm like, no, first you have to admit it, and then the second one. So, like, I think that God puts people in our lives for a reason.
I agree.
And it's really funny because at the beginning, Austin said we thought of used to. We thought of used to, like, right away. Like, it was crazy. I'm like, yeah, I worked with Teo for a while. Like,
Now, we say that. Do you guys take that in a negative way?
That you thought it was?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I'm very open about my recovery. So, I mean, even if you were friends with me on Facebook, you'll see that it's not a secret anymore. Like I used to be. I was the same way as Kyle. I didn't want my mom knowing. I wanted to I was, like, protecting her from knowing what I was doing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, I'm very open about it. Like, if I meet you on the street or something, I'm not gonna come up and be like, "Hey, I'm a recovering drug addict." You know what I mean? Nice to meet you. I'm Dominic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is part of me, and that's who I am.
Yeah.
And but there is no secrets in my life anymore. Like the HR lady at my work, she's just like you. She didn't know about addiction, but when she met me and Teo, she knew what she was hiring when she got us, and she's very intrigued by it. She like listens to podcasts actually.
Mm-hmm.
She's listened to this one, both of them, and she's reading about it, and she's very intrigued by it. So like every time pretty much every time I see her, she asks me like, "How's things going?" Like, and she just wants to know. She doesn't understand it, so it's like she's super intrigued by it and wants to know like what makes us tick, kind of,
Well, that's how. To be honest, that's how I am. Like when I first found out about it, like I love sitting here with you guys and listening to your stories. Like I remember listening to a guy back at another building when I was working, and I was literally just bashing with questions because I loved it. Like I wanted to know about it because when we first found out that it was heroin, I had no idea what heroin even was. So it was just like all new to me. And then I hear these crazy stories. Like it's not cool, but the rock bottom part is what gives me chills sometimes. Like it's crazy. There's this one story I listened to on another podcast, and the dude's rock bottom was his grandparent died, and his mom wanted him to be there, and his mom knew that he was using and stuff, and she wanted him clean, and she's like, you need to be there no matter what. And so she's like, I'm picking you up. So she picked him up, and he was like puking and stuff because he's trying to get clean. And she's like, I can't have you looking like this when you're showing up. He's like, all right, I'll take care of it. So he literally texted his drug dealer on the way over there. It was like, all right, I need something. And then they stopped. He's like, Mom, stop here. Stop there. And the guy didn't want to do a drug deal outside the car. So they got in the back of his mom's car and did the drug deal in the back of his mom's car right in front of her. Like, that was his moment. Wow. That gives me chills, dude. Yeah. Like your mom is literally sitting right in front of you and watching in a rearview mirror. You make this drug deal, and he literally used in the back of her car. It's crazy. So it's just those moments that get me. Like it just fascinates me.
Yeah, that's definitely a moment when you're sitting in the back of the drug dealer's car. When he gets out, you look up at your mom, and you just made a drug deal right in front of her, and you're about to use.
Yep.
Your life has come down to this moment right here, and you're just, it's sad. It is sad, and
but if people can understand, and people can talk about it, it's gonna help.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like we never talked about it. I mean, but we can help people. Like you said, your supervisor or your HR person is open to it. How many people can go to work and have that conversation without putting their job in jeopardy?
Yeah. Like that's what pisses me off.
That's crazy.
And a lot of people don't understand why can't you just stop?
That's us.
Dude, if I could just...
That's this kid right here, Dylan. Which you'll hear that in our next episode.
Yeah.
If I could just stop, I would, but it takes over my brain. And it becomes, that's all I want. And my life... And I'm consumed by it. You know what I mean?
And here's my thought on it. Everyone said it's a choice. It's a choice. Yes, the first time I picked up was definitely a choice. Well, I knew nothing about heroin, and I remember the first time I used it. And this kid that we went to high school with poured out this powder, and it wasn't much. It was a small amount. And he said, "Here, we're gonna split this." I thought it was a pill or something. I had already done pills, oxys, and all that, so I was already open to whatever. I didn't give a shit. And I said, "What the hell's that?" He goes, "Heroin." I didn't know what it looked like. I thought people shot it up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my idea. Like the stigma was some dude in the gutter in York City.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Laying there with a brown paper bag. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and it looked so innocent. It was so small. And that was the first time I did it. I was open to the idea. So that first time, 100% a choice. 100% a choice. And after that, it's progressive, just like anything else. And I after that first time I used heroin, it was probably 3 months until I used it again. I didn't look for it or anything until it came back around. And then I did it. But after you try it, after you choose to try it, and you have an addicted personality like myself, can't speak for anyone else, it becomes a mental obsession that turns into a physical craving. And that's where it changes from a choice to a disease for me. Because the way my body chemically reacts to alcohol, but anything, alcohol is like my thing. The way my body reacts to alcohol, it wants more. It craves more. And I'm a blackout drunk. That's how when I go to meetings, everyone says, "Hey, I'm Dominic, I'm an alcoholic." I say, "I'm Dominic, I'm a blackout drunk." Every meeting I go to, because that's how I am when I drink. My body does not say, "Hey, you're drunk, maybe you should chill out." I drink until I wake up the next morning. That's pretty much every single time. Every single time. If there's enough alcohol there, that's how it's going down. Even if I tell myself, "No, just slow down this time," you know what I mean? My brain does not say that to me. Does not give me that trigger, "Hey, maybe you should stop drinking right now." It doesn't. And it just craves and craves and craves and craves more. Some people can drink a beer, put it down. Their body doesn't react to alcohol the same way mine does.
So it was a choice. And then Dylan's fight is it was a choice. And then your body needs it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you hit rock bottom, but then you have that choice to stop.
Yeah.
So how is it that some can stop and some can't stop?
It's called the gift of desperation. You have to get that gift of desperation. Teo's was different than mine, and mine will be different than some other people's. Rock bottom looks different for everyone. You know what I mean? Some people lose their wife, and that's good for them. Some people are homeless for 10 years and then are just like have a sign that like, I want to get sober. I mean, everyone's is different. But when you get desperate enough that you don't want to live the way you were living, that's when you'll get sober. It's not from going to jail. You can go to rehab 35 times. You can do 10. I've seen where I live at Life Speaking, where Teo was talking about, Bob went to jail for a while, so he takes in a lot of guys that did long prison sentences, so that like get them back to living life again. There's dudes that do 20 years in jail, and the first week they're out, start using again. 20 years, and as soon as they get out, they'll do it again and risk going back to jail, on state parole, whatever. It doesn't matter. Prison's not going to change you. Rehab's not going to change you. Going to church ain't going to change you. They all can help, but until you want to be sober,
your choice, right?
Yeah, once you get that desperate, where I refuse to live that way, and I will do whatever it takes, like Teo said, going to church, doing whatever Bob said, whatever it took to stay on the right path. Until you get to that point, you won't stay clean. If you're doing it because, oh, my girlfriend wants me clean, oh, my mom wants me clean, oh, my work said I can't be drinking, that's cool. That's not going to keep you clean. It might get you clean, not going to keep you clean.
Has to be for yourself.
It has to be for yourself. All those things can get you clean, but won't keep you clean. Because one day, when you're having a bad day, you walk into the liquor store, or some dude texts you, hey, I got some real good shit. You know what I mean? You're having a bad day or just down on your luck a little bit. Bang, you're back there doing it. Yeah. And it picks up right where it left off. You can be clean for 10 years. I've been in rehab with dude. The last time I went to rehab in Florida, he was clean for 15 years, lives in New York. And as soon as he started using, he was right back onto the same street in New York, getting the same stuff. And it picked up right where it left off.
If not worse.
Yeah.
You know, every time I started back up, it was worse. It got worse every single time. No matter how long I had clean, I went right back to it, and it just got worse, and it got shorter. You know, my runs got shorter
each time because it's progressive. It gets worse. And I didn't start doing AA seriously until like last year. But like in 2017, I moved to California. I did exactly what they say, like not to do in AA, is like a geographical change. I said, if I can just get away from the people, places, and things, I'll go to California and start over. You know what I found in California? Myself. No matter where you go, you take yourself with you. My same mindset, doing the same things, scheming the same way. Went out there, stayed clean for maybe 2 months, and I started calling my mom, hey, I need money. Hey, I need money. And I was starting doing drugs again because I found myself out there. You know what I mean? Just because I was away from the people back here, I found the people out there. I will gravitate towards the negative people if that's what I want. And I will find it. I have a sense for it.
So that's interesting. You can stay here and be just as successful because a lot of times people do travel. Mm-hmm. But you're right. You're taking yourself, so you're going to find that. And I guess, like, Kyle moved to Florida to go to school, and we drove together down there with his stuff. And I remember, like, I thought at that point he was just doing marijuana. I don't know what he was doing at that point. But, like, he was talking to some guy out by the swimming pool. I was watching from his window, and I was like, he doesn't even know that guy. And I just got this bad vibe. The kids always say I get these vibes, and I'm like, who the hell is he talking to? Like, on our first day, in our second hour, he's out there by the pool talking to some shady-ass guy. I mean... And all of a sudden, like,
Stigma,
they
right there?
Yeah,
I heard
yeah, I know, but I was like,
I was thinking the
called me
same
out,
thing. You
but
don't judge people?
I don't judge.
Okay.
At that point, I admit, like, I was like, this is shady. And, like, they disappeared behind the stairwell, and the guy left, and Kyle was standing there by himself. And the guy came back, and I was like, all right, he just probably bought marijuana. Like, we weren't even in Florida for 3 hours. And he came back in the apartment. I'm like, what were you doing out there? He's like, well, you watching me? And literally, for a day, like, he didn't talk to me. He was pissed. And he's like, you don't trust me? And I'm like, I think I trust you. Like, that was just weird. Like, you made friends like that. So to your point, Dom, like, he met somebody, like, right away. I mean, it was within hours. And I remember, like, just laying, and we were sleeping on the floor because we didn't have anything. We were going to get mattresses and stuff. And I remember just crying, thinking, what in the world is going on here with him? And he was a jackass to me the entire 3 days I was there, and he had to take me back to the airport. And I got out of the car, and I was like, thank you. And then he started crying. He's like, Mom, like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's too late now. And I was like pissed because like he didn't talk to me the whole time. And I'm like buying mattresses and furniture and shit like that. And I was like, but to your point, like he obviously had a problem here. He took it with him and he found his way. But how do you, like, in my mind, like he wasn't smart enough to buy drugs. Like I can't even picture him in York City because he was book smart, but not street smart at all. Like it makes me like tears laughing at me because you know Kyle.
Yeah,
But, like I'm laughing. How did he
man,
not
can,
get killed? Like how did he not? How did Kyle not get killed trying to buy drugs? Like I don't understand.
Did you find
it.
anything, man?
I don't even know how he did it. Like I don't even know how you asked for it. But I guess you just attract, like you said. So it makes perfect sense that you take yourself with you.
So the environment change is not enough. That's what you're saying.
If a geographical change is awesome if you're doing it for the right reason.
You're not
Okay.
I was
changing
just
yourself.
all I did was ran from my problems here and just ran
Okay.
and took myself. I went out there to get sober, but mentally I wasn't done. You know what I mean? And until you're done, you won't get it. I'll just attract them people again. You know what I mean? I will find it at all costs. That sketchy guy on the street, that stigma, I'm talking to him. You know what I mean? I will find it. And that's my mission. It was my mission every day for years. No matter if I was in California, Florida, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Baltimore, I'll find it.
So did you either of you have to leave good friends because they were still active and you didn't want to be active? Did you actually have to break relationships?
You have
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. You can't talk to those people anymore.
You are who you surround yourself with.
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Like the users, like I have friends, like good friends who still drink. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me. Do I go to house parties or do I go to the bar? No, I don't do that. You know, for me, if I sit in there long enough, you know, I will have a drink. You know what I mean? Or use or somehow. I feel now I'm strong. I've got the right support group. I got the right people to call, but I just don't put myself in those situations, you know, and I don't want to.
Do you feel the need to try to help those people?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Because-
to Dom's point before, you can help them as much as you want, but they don't want it for themselves, and it's
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
It's
I
technically
just
not
mean,
worth
like-
it.
Exactly. Like if they have to want it.
Yeah.
If they come to me and they're like, I really want it. Tell me what you did. What can I do? I'll help you. But for me to reach out to someone, hey man, I can help you. You want to get sober? I mean, most of the time they're gonna be like, no, piss off, dude.
Yeah.
Like
you can only help someone that wants help. If
Yeah.
you went to
Yeah.
a bar every time and tried finding the drunk in the corner and trying to help them, you'd kill yourself just trying.
That's
you know what I mean?
me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help everybody.
Yeah.
Like it does kill
You
you.
gotta
I get
choose
it.
your battles. You know what I mean?
I got you.
So back to the rock bottom. I know you said you shared your story about your rock bottom. You said, did you ever have like that experience?
Oh, I've had tons of them. I've been homeless.
Do you have one that kind of like sticks out in particular?
Yeah.
I'll talk about when I went to Philadelphia.
There you go.
A couple months ago, I got kicked out of Bob's house, my sober living, and I was living in a Motel 6 out in York, and I got drunk, called off work, and I started drinking in the morning. I'm a day drinker. I love drinking in the morning.
Yeah.
And I got drunk, and I called off work, and I just was sitting down watching TV, and all of a sudden I had this idea that I wanted to use, and I hadn't used in like a year, and I didn't know anyone in York because I've been out of it for so long. You know what I mean? I didn't talk to anyone that I used to, so I didn't know where to get it. And I said I wanted to use bad, so I got my Jeep, and I went to a place in Philadelphia called Kensington. It's the biggest open air drug market in the world, and cops don't even stop through there. You know what I mean? And so I'd never been there. Don't know a single person in Philadelphia. Nothing. But I had money in my pocket, my ATM card on me, and I had a vehicle. So I drove drunk, drank 2 4 Locos. So blood alcohol was probably like 0.2 something. And I drove however long it took, 2 hours, whatever. I don't remember the drive. And drove to Kensington, and I found a white guy because you need to find a white person if you're white. You know what I mean? Once you go into bad parts, you got to stick with your kind. It's kind of like going to prison. So I found a white guy, and I said, look, I could tell, just like Stigma. Found him. I knew he used. I could just look at him and tell. And people out there get stuck out there. You know what I mean? Because they just want to use, and that's it. So they get stuck. Yeah. So I found this guy, and I said, look, you know your way around here. I have the money. You have the hookups. Let's work together, and let's do this. He said, absolutely. So I said, you get me shit, and I will break you off each time. It's a couple months ago. And I hadn't used it over a year. And out in Kensington, they have some of the best drugs in the nation, strongest. You know what I mean? The fentanyl and stuff. Mostly all the dope out there is fentanyl. And we went, and I bought some crack, and I bought some dope. And I was on a suicide mission, and I didn't give a shit. I was supposed to be at work the next day. I had, you know what I mean? Responsibility. I just threw it all away. I didn't give a shit. Didn't give a shit.
So when you say suicide mission, you mean you don't really care, like,
Didn't
if you
give a
die
shit.
or anything?
Nope. Whoever's in front of me, I'm driving drunk. I'm driving high. I'm spending all the money in my bank account. That's how I use. I'm dedicated to it when I use. When I use hard. And I bought some crack and I bought some dope. I bought like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 bags of dope. And I bought some crack. And I made it through one bag of dope. And I overdosed on the corner out there in a bodega, which is a corner store. Last thing I remember, I was going black and I started falling backwards. And I remember these black kids saying something about running my pockets. I didn't remember where I was, but I overdosed. And the only reason I believe that someone called the dude called the ambulance was because I was white. If I was black, he would have stepped over my body, ran my pockets, took my shit, and walked away, and considered it a win for himself. So the ambulance came, and I woke up in Temple University Episcopal Hospital, and my phone was dead, and all I had on me was my Jeep key and my ID. I had no idea where my Jeep was. I had no idea where I was at. My phone was completely dead, and this was at like midnight at this point. So they released me from Temple University Episcopal Hospital, said, "You're all right, you're good to go." So I walked out of there in the middle of, I forget which part of Philadelphia it is, North Philly or something. No idea where I was. Phone completely dead. It's midnight. I don't know where my Jeep's at. I have the key. No idea where it's at. So I walked for probably 3-4 hours that night, and I slept outside in the place, and it's a place called the Badlands in Philadelphia. Some of the worst spots in Philadelphia, and I slept outside of a doctor's office on a concrete pad in the cold. This was in February 13th to be exact. Freezing cold in a pair of sweatpants and a sweatshirt. No drugs left. The hospital took them. I have the hospital report said that I denied using any drugs, but they found 7 balloons of crack on me, dope, and needles. But I don't remember any of it. I got Narcan, and I slept outside in Philadelphia alone. And I had a job. I had a good job. I had a place to sleep back home. I threw it all away, and I was sleeping outside. People walking past me like I was the next junkie. You know what I mean? And I had a year clean. And so I slept outside in Philadelphia with nothing. Didn't know where my Jeep was. And then I ended up going to rehab right after that. I walked to the police station at Temple University. I walked down to Temple University. I was like, there's some white people, some decent looking people. So I walked that way. You know what I mean? It's better than walking the other way. I walked down there and I found the police station. I called my mom and said, hey, I'm in Philadelphia. She thought I was in jail because I was calling from the police station. And I said, no, I need picked up. And she said, well, you're going to rehab. And I said, whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean? I went to rehab and still had no idea where my Jeep was. And then I met this girl in rehab who said her husband lives in Kensington. She said, when you get out, text me, and I'll see if maybe he sees it out there parked somewhere. And I thought it got stolen. You know what I mean? They steal cars all day down there.
Not Jeeps.
And, yeah. And the day I got out, the day she got out, I got out a little bit before her. She texted me and said, hey, send me a picture of your Jeep and the license plate number. And I said, all right. You know what I mean? It's a long shot. This is a fucking long shot. The next day, she texts me at 7 in the morning. I woke up at like 8. She texts me at 7 in the morning, sends me a picture of my Jeep that I didn't take. She goes, is this the Jeep? I said, yeah. Where is it? She said, Philadelphia. She goes, right on Kensington and Allegheny. I said, no way. I said, and I said to God, I said, and I'm not super religious, but I believe in a higher power, and God's what I don't know.
Your image.
Yeah. And I said to him, I said, dude, I don't even deserve this. Because I had already came to terms that I lost that Jeep. Yeah. You know what I mean? I lost it, and I deserved to lose it. I deserved to lose my job and everything, but I didn't. My HR lady saved my ass. And I said, God, I don't even deserve this back, you know? And he gave it back to me, and all they took was the head unit. And so I called a tow truck, and I said, hey, can you go pick this up? He said, yep. And I got it back.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
That was karma right there.
Absolutely.
So
for a
that's
little
crazy.
bit.
Yeah, for a little bit.
I went from sleeping at a hotel, which a nice air condition, heat, TV, good job, everything. And like that, I took off that day, stopped calling people, and I got drunk, and I made that decision. I could have died right there on that spot. But I think because I was white, that kid called someone. Because out there in Kensington, they don't give a shit. They'll walk right over your body, run your pockets, and walk away.
That just makes
Every
you
day.
believe there's a higher power. Like,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah. I mean, if that's not a sign, I don't know what the hell
that
is.
shit
That's
gives
a
me the
sign.
goosebumps just listening to that.
You're cheap.
But
Yeah.
that wasn't your only experience as far as overdose. Because
No.
you were kind of, how many different experiences did you have overdose?
That was I've only been Narcan twice. That was the most recent time. The first time I was in York, and like right after high school, and I was dead on arrival. A drug dealer I didn't even know it was Teo's friend, called the ambulance and said, he called Teo too and said, hey, your brother's overdosing in his truck. And Teo was in California. And,
What was your response to that, Teo?
Well, do you want the story of how it happened, first of all? Because he messages me and says, hey, what's your buddy's number? I said, why? You know, how I'm associated with this guy is I've hung out with him, but we've used. I was like, why the hell do you want his number, dude? He does this bullshit line of, oh, I just want to see how he's doing. I said,
by any means necessary, I will get that number.
I was like, what? All right. So I sent it to him, and then, like an hour later, he calls me. He goes, hey, man, I just want to let you know I called the ambulance. Your brother's overdosing right now. I said, what? What the hell? And he's like, I just wanted to let you know I'm leaving. I called him, though. I was like, well, thanks for calling him. And then mom and dad were super mad at me. And mom was really, really, really mad. She like didn't even really want to talk to me. She was yelling at me. I said, this is not my fault. I was like, I mean, I wasn't there. What do you want me to do?
And this was right after high school. So at this point, my mom knew I was kind of doing shady shit, but never really like seen heroin. Never really could like pinpoint like, yes, he's using. She just saw I was kind of being sketchy, hanging out with sketchy people, gone a little bit more than I should have been. And then she got a call that I was on my way to York Hospital, and I'd overdosed and I was shooting heroin. And so it was like that was her. At that point, the gig was up. There was no more lying. You know what I mean? I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't hide it anymore. And when they got there, I think I was 19 at the time, and I was dead on arrival, no heartbeat, nothing. They hit me with the defibrillator, hit me with Narcan twice, and I woke up on the way to York Hospital. And it was, at that point, it was out in the open now. You know what I mean? I had no more covering it up.
Did you feel better after that moment where your parents found out? Like, you didn't have to lie anymore. You didn't have to hold that in.
Initially, no, I was pissed. You know what I mean? I don't even initially know what I said once I like woke up and came to, but yeah, secrets keep you sick. So like once you get it out in the open, it felt better, but it took time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It takes time.
You're here for a reason, bud. I don't know what your reason is, but you've had some life-changing, something good's going to come out of you. Like, you're here for a reason.
We all are.
Yep. But how many chances did he have? Like, God has plans for you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome.
So our biggest question was, going back to stigma, did you guys ever feel like you had the stigma over your heads as far as people judging you guys? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
ever since the start?
Ever since anybody's ever heard of me using, you know. Oh,
What were some of the stories, experiences you had with
Jeez.
stigma?
People just
Name calling and
junkie was
Junkie.
a big time junkie, deadbeat, dude, all types of things. Main one was like, you're a drug user, you're a junkie. I mean, it was just
That just
a
make
bunch of
things worse for you, or did it? Like,
I mean, at that
did it
time,
bother you
when
at all,
you're
or-
sober, it bothers you. When you're sober, when you're using, I don't give a shit what the hell you call me. Call me whatever the hell you want. Potato head. If
I
you
agree.
want.
I agree with that 100%. Once you get sober, it affects you more. But when I was using it, didn't affect me at all because I earned that. I worked every day to be like that.
Right.
You didn't want me in your house because I would steal shit. I was a scumbag. I was a lowlife. I was everything that the stigma says because I worked at it every day. That's what I did, and I was dedicated to it.
Steal from you and help you look for it.
Yeah, I'd steal your TV, and then once you found it was gone, I'd help you look for it like I didn't take it. I'm stealing everything. I'm stealing everything that's not bolted down, and if it's bolted down, I'm unbolting it and still taking it.
Or that TV that was in your room that guy left. We were like, yeah, we're gonna get rid of this right now.
I mean, there's stories for days. I mean, we could. There's stories for days.
the fact that you guys can sit here and admit all this, like, that's powerful to me.
Well, you got to come to terms with it. You know what I mean? If you just keep it in and try to like lie to yourself, like
Yeah.
acceptance is the first step, and like getting out of the denial. You know what I mean? I know what I was. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know what I mean? I
Right.
was a scumbag, and I pushed away anyone that ever loved me because that's what I did, and I didn't give a shit. And I feel like a lot of the choices you make in life are because of the image you have of yourself.
Yep.
If you keep yourself on that low, the bottom on the totem pole, your choices in life are going to reflect that.
Yep.
But once you look at yourself in a different way, you're not willing to put yourself in like harm's way or like just self-destruct constantly.
Right.
'Cause that's how I was. If I was alone for 10 minutes to myself and to my own devices,
Yeah.
I'm self-destructing. It's just what I did. I harmed myself. You know what I mean? And that's just what I did.
So how do we stop stigma? Like, what's happening today with people that don't know?
It's
How do we help
Educate.
stop that?
it's better now than it was then.
It is.
I will tell you that.
Okay.
Because people have so many loved ones who are going through addiction too, or know somebody. You know, you probably know somebody. You know somebody.
yeah.
I know somebody. He knows somebody that's been through it.
Yep.
And people are starting to educate themselves and understand what it is, why. And these aren't the people that are using or high and using. That's not them. You got to understand that these are not how they really are. You know, you could take the most loving, caring person and you feed them drugs, and they're completely opposite of that. You know what I mean? It's the drugs that takes over, and people are starting to educate themselves with that and starting to understand what addiction is. And then there's going to be the ones who are just stubborn and don't care and just are going to be ignorant and just be like, well, I'm not a drug user. You know what I mean? Like that. And that's fine. And okay. And I'm okay with that. That's how you feel. That's how you feel.
Yep.
You know, who am I to change how you think? You know what I mean? There are people who want to be educated and want to learn.
Yeah.
You know, and all we can do is, like these podcasts, is put it out there so
Yep.
people can hear and
Yep.
listen. And maybe a brain will pop up, a light will pop off in their head, be like, man, I need to get more educated. I need to understand this more. So
Awesome.
I feel like stigma's around everything. Basically, we talked about that
Absolutely.
before. It's not just addiction itself. It's everything. Like even might have stigma myself, and I have insecurities in myself, and that affects you. Affects your mood, and like I said, the gym's my outing. So I use the gym for therapy. Basically, is what I want to say.
to be honest, that's a great therapy. I mean, to clear your mind and I don't know, I love it. You know what I mean? That was a big outlet for me.
As addicts or
Yeah.
users, past users,
Yep.
you guys feel the gym is a big help, because everyone I talk to that's an addict or whatever, they associate themselves with the gym. Like that makes them feel like
And it gets
Makes
my
them feel
blood
better.
flowing, and it clears my mind. When I say I'm having a bad day or angry, and I go to the gym and I get a good pump and blood's
Yeah.
flowing, and I'm sweating.
Yep.
I feel so much better when I come out of there.
Yep.
It changes my mood, changes my day.
I relate.
You feel better about yourself. It's
Yeah.
all about getting yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally on the same level.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Getting it all together, working in, what is it, symbiosis or whatever?
It sounds right. I'm gonna go with you on that one.
But getting it all on the same level, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Because you need to be healthy in all aspects, and just going to the gym it's a healthy way to deal, and it gets you out of yourself for a little bit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And it's a healthy way of
Going to the gym, no matter what's positive,
Yeah.
you're bettering yourself.
Absolutely.
So even if you're having a crappy day, like you going to the gym is just gonna make it a little better.
Not only the gym, but there are other things like meditating or taking some time out for yourself.
That's
just
something
to
I want to learn.
just to sit and just relax and just sit outside for a little bit and just listen.
Yep.
I mean, it feels good. It doesn't always have to be the gym. You can go for a run. You could call somebody you haven't talked to, you know what I mean, and say, hey, what's up, how you doing, just to check in.
Yeah, meditation's hard for someone that isn't used to being able to sit with themselves. Because
Would
when
you-
you meditate, you are sitting with yourself and being comfortable in your own skin. And for me, in the past, me sitting alone for any amount of time is very bad. But
Have you meditated before?
oh yeah, they teach you that when you go to rehab. I've been to rehab 6 times, and meditation's a big thing. It's just learning to sit down and just calm down and like quiet your thoughts and be able to sit there.
Basically, so I've watched videos and they describe it as you got to sit there. You got to tell your body that your body's going to sit there and not eat or do anything. You're basically just your mind's in control of your body. Like, so like, I don't know how to explain it well, but that's something I would want to get into and learn. That's like learn how to meditate and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a lot about being in present time, like just sitting with yourself in present time. You're not worrying about the past. You're not future tripping. You're not thinking about like,
Any
I mean,
problems.
thinking about the future and like what you're gonna do is always good. You know what I mean? But meditating brings you into the moment. You're sitting there, and
Yeah.
that's it. You know what I mean? You're not thinking about, damn, yesterday I really fucked over this guy, or I messed this up, or tomorrow what am I gonna do? How am I gonna? It's just sitting there. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
And
hard.
Relaxing. Yeah.
Completely relaxed.
That's
Yeah.
freaking
not
hard.
thinking
Shut your
about
mind off for just a
nothing.
minute, and
Exactly.
it's so good for you though.
Do you experience anything weird?
I mean,
I
I haven't. I'm not that good at it. You know what I mean? My mind is going.
That's what I don't
Like
think I
out
could
of
do.
the-
It.
Just
Out of the
calm.
body experience kind of thing?
I've never had that. I just feel super relaxed and calm. You know what I mean? You're not really thinking about anything. I mean, again, like I don't meditate a lot. You know what I mean? There are times you just sit on your bed. You know what I mean? Laying down or legs crossed and just put something on YouTube that has the meditation music and
Yep.
just sit there.
One of the best things that I was taught in rehab when I went to Florida, this Florida rehab was awesome. It was down in Fort Lauderdale, but this lady taught us. They're big into breathing exercises. That's such bullshit, dude. You know what I mean? I'm not into it at all. But she taught us this one thing called gamma breathing. When you have like anxiety or right before you go to bed, it's breathing through your nose, then out through your nose, then in through your nose, out through your mouth, then in through your mouth, out through your mouth, in through your mouth, out through your nose. And when your mind is trying to remember the breathing pattern while you're like breathing correctly. And so your mind is thinking about the breathing pattern and not thinking about all the other shit you were thinking
You're
about.
in the moment. You're
So
in
things.
yeah,
Okay.
it's like a deterrent kind of, but
Yeah.
it was awesome. Like when I lay down sometimes at night and I can't go to sleep, I'll start doing that, and it relaxes your body like no other. Cause
I
I'm,
try hyperventilate.
but if you breathe right and like you're supposed to like hold your breath in between each one, but your mind's thinking about okay,
Breathing.
my next breath in through my mouth or out through my nose. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And you're thinking about that.
Thinking about it too much.
Yeah, and then you're not. When you're thinking about that, you're not thinking about all the other
Oh,
shit.
Yep.
Okay.
That's actually pretty smart.
Interesting.
So, Dom, I know Teo kind of talked about it, but you have any experiences with stigma yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people that knew the old me. You know what I mean?
So that'd be like us. We kind of knew you growing up through high school, playing basketball together.
Yeah, and then there's some people that were only around me when I was using, and they carry that through to today. You know what I mean? I'm not the same person I was. You know what I mean? Some people don't want me in their house because they knew who I was, and that's fine. I accept people where they're at today.
Yeah.
I can't change people. You know what I mean? I was that, and they have every right to still feel like that. You know what I mean? Like certain parents don't want me at their house or
But that's
hanging
cool.
out with their kids.
That's cool for you to understand that yourself.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you don't beat yourself
like
up
I
for
said,
that.
Yeah, I earned it. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Now, if it was just completely false and had no basis,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a little hard to accept. But I mean, if people come around and see me today, like I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? And
Nobody is.
Yeah, but like just being able to get to a point where I understand my character defects and I try to work on them. You know what I mean? It's hard being able to sit down, look at yourself in a mirror on a very deep level,
Mm-hmm.
and be like, this is who I am, and this is why I am the way I am, and trying to work through them because you taught yourself all these things. You know what I mean?
Yep,
And
growing
it's
up.
hard to get through, like insecurities. Like, how do you just start working on it? Like, I'm not good at talking to girls. How do you get better at that? You know what I mean? It's hard.
Just
It's
gotta
really
step
hard.
in, you know.
Yeah, but my way of doing it was drinking.
Yeah.
I know I'm 5 beers away from being the man.
Oh shit.
There is a stigma that I also have. Even when, say, being 2 years sober or 1 year sober, say you're having a bad day. You know what I mean? Other people are like, yeah, he's using. Test
yeah.
him.
I wouldn't ever thought of that. Yeah.
Test him. He's using. You know, sometimes you're gonna have bad days. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're gonna act out of the ordinary because you're having a bad day or angry. You know, but right then, and it's happened for me still to this day, he's using. You know, even when I had to get tested for COVID, you know what I mean, my breathing was messed up. You know what I mean? Something was wrong with my breathing, but most of the time it's the allergies. You know, and they're like, well, if his COVID test comes back negative, you need to test him just to make sure he's not using.
Wow.
And that makes me so angry on the
I was just
inside.
gonna say, does it make
It
freaking
makes
angry?
me so mad that, like, to me, I just want to shove it right in your face. Get the test right now.
Yeah.
I'll go out and buy it. We're taking it
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
You know, and
I never
that
thought of that.
that bugs me. You know, to this day, it still happens. Well, you know, he's not acting right. Test him. You know what I mean? And like I said, you could be angry or not having a great day or something happened, and right away they think you're using. You know what I mean? Because that's all they've known for
Yep.
so long.
And they tell loved ones when you get out of rehab to try not to bring up the past constantly. I mean, you need to learn from the past, and like obviously, if there's signs, like address it somewhat. But I mean, we've trained our loved ones like that's like when we're acting out, it's because we were using. When we were being shady, it's because we were using. So now, like they initially just go to that. You know what I mean? As soon as you're like tired or not doing exactly what you did every day,
You sleep too much. Or
yeah,
something.
it's immediately
Test 'em.
this. But I mean, rightfully so. It's what we've trained them to think. You know what I mean? Every time we were using, it's like those are the signs.
Right.
So I mean,
So I guess it's even to the point, not like if you're acting different, but if something's missing,
Yeah.
they automatically look
They
at
assume
the
that
person.
what you used to be.
yeah.
And they think maybe he's using.
Mhm.
You know, we should test him. You know what I mean? And then I mean, that's fine. You know, I'm not using, so it doesn't matter to me. But don't say it and don't act on it. Let's do it now. You know what I mean? I'll prove to you right now that I'm not using. I'll pee in a cup. I peed in 500 cups. I've had 1,000 drug tests. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nothing feels better when you're sober and you can just be like, boom,
Yep.
there you go.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma. I mean, we have a individual at work. Something was missing, and right away they're like, "Oh,
you
check him." And then you know, and you're like going around, and I'm not checking him. Like I'm not gonna ask him that question. Then all of a sudden, this person finds what they were looking for, and I'm like, "Okay, are you gonna apologize now because you just had us all on this rant? Like,
Yeah.
you're 100% sure somebody stole it, and there's only one person in this
See?
office
Yeah.
that could have stole from you, and they stole it for that reason, and then you find it in your desk drawer."
Yeah. Yeah. And then
You
you
know, like,
they're
and
addicts.
these
They're
are people-
stealing it. Yeah.
These are people that come to you and say, "I think so and so did it," because they have a problem. And I'm like, just because they have a problem, don't mean that they stole that out of your desk. Like,
Yep.
look again.
Yep.
And so there's all kind of stigma around different things, but interesting.
That's probably why a lot of users don't want to open up about it
Absolutely.
because they're afraid of that.
You guys feel that way before you opened up or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what are people going to think of me if I tell them that I'm shooting heroin? You know what I mean? People associate heroin with like one of the worst drugs ever
Yeah.
that was ever created.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Is
you know
it,
what I mean?
in your opinion, is it the worst drug out there for people
I mean,
to
that's a
use?
50-50 chance. I mean, to be honest with you. I mean, if you're playing Russian roulette with heroin. You know what I mean?
The person it turns you into is beyond anything you've ever thought. You know what I mean? I did things that I never in my life thought that I would do, and I did it with no remorse, no even thought. You know what I mean? My body, like my mind was like, "No, you shouldn't do it," but your body just goes.
Yeah.
It just goes.
You need it.
Yeah.
You need it.
It rips you. You're not the same person. That's the only way I can put it. You're not the same person. And there's no talking to someone that's full-fledged in addiction and don't want to quit. There's no talking to them. You can't scare them into it. They can overdose 10 times. They can watch the person next to them overdose. I've seen people overdose, and I've watched someone overdose and then wonder where he got that dope because I wanted it too because I knew it was strong.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
That's sick.
You've heard some of those same
I've
things.
heard some of those stories, and I've actually heard that, like, news people, like, when this first came out, like, I want to know what it feels like. How can I talk about it on my news station if I don't know what it feels like? And literally, we've had doctors on TV say, you can't even try it just to understand because you're going to be wanting more.
Yeah, I'll grab
Like,
you by the
and so-
balls and bring
yeah.
you down.
So us, like, we never tried it, so we can't even imagine it. And you
Chemically-
can't even describe it.
Chemically, it's a painkiller. It's an opiate, okay? And it just releases, I think it's dopamine into your brain, like
Yep.
floods it with it. So it's chemically made to just make your body feel amazing.
Yep.
That's what it does to you.
I've heard
So there's
it's like
no
so
way.
many times better than like sex. Like
There's no way that you can't not like it. What it does to you makes you feel euphoria. It makes you feel good. It's what it was made to do. And so there's no way you can't like it. The first time you do it, you might get sick, might have an allergic reaction, you know what I mean? It feels amazing. And that's why people are willing to throw their lives, throw their loved ones away, break marriages off, no F's given because of that feeling. If it didn't feel that great, people wouldn't be going through through the hell that they go through to get it and maintain it. It feels amazing. And that's
Just-
what sucks.
Shows how tough life is.
Yeah.
Like, life sucks. and
It
people
was-
are willing to find that high to get away from it.
Yeah, like Dylan was saying about the better than sex. I wanted heroin more than I wanted sex or to talk to women.
Gotcha.
That's sad.
Yeah, I'm not stealing your purse to have sex with a girl. You know what I mean?
Do you have a purse, Dylan?
Interesting.
No, but to dopamine being released, I'm pretty sure like when you eat your chocolate cake that you love so much, that's the same thing. Like
Same thing.
dopamine is so it's that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of relate, but on different levels.
Yeah, it's all
Yep.
different.
Well, so when you
levels.
see chocolate cake, do you feel like I need it? I need to eat it?
Well,
Do
it's
you?
funny that you say that because like I've been working out and I've been trying to lose weight. I've been successful.
Yeah, very.
But I told myself when I get to this certain weight, I'm having cake.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're just waiting
So
for
I
it.
got to that
Okay.
certain point.
I know where you're going with this.
And I talked to a friend and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have cake. He said, why? And I said, because I met my goal. And he said, well, why are you giving in to that? Like, why are you setting a goal for something that you're addicted to? Why is that what you're going to go to? And I said, because I can, because I did what I wanted. And he's a recovering user as well.
So that's your reward.
And he's like, well, I can't reward myself. Like, he's a year clean a couple months ago. So do I get to use drugs because
Because I
I'm
made
a year
it?
clean 'cause I made it? And I was like,
It's a
shit.
good point.
And I'm like, all right, you just ruined it. Like, I'm not going to eat that effing cake now.
Now I
And
don't
got
want it.
pissed off, and I'm like, fine, I'm not going to eat. I don't need that cake.
No.
But
You're not
it's,
working
you know,
to better yourself for a piece of cake. You should be bettering yourself for yourself.
but like that's addiction. Like the
Mhm.
whole time I'm losing weight, and every time I get on scale, I'm like, yes, like 10 more pounds, I'm going to have cake.
Okay.
You know, and I wanted that so bad. He's like, reward yourself with something else.
Yeah.
Like, don't have the cake. Like, go do something that you want to do, or buy yourself something. But
Yeah.
why do you? And it hit me, and I'm like, that's how powerful addiction is.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and it made sense, and it pissed me off. I'm like, really? Like, all right, I'm not having cake. Like, and I text the next day, I'm like, I did not have cake, and he's like, good, go to the gym.
Yeah, and those two are so relatable because, like he's saying, when you get to a year clean and you treat yourself, you just stop doing everything that you were doing to keep it. For you, for cake, you're doing all this stuff to have the cake, and what happens when you have the cake? You know, are you done working out, or do you keep
Or
going?
you have more.
Or you
Yeah.
have more.
Because you have more.
Exactly.
Because now you have sugar in your body and you want more. Now you got to
Yep.
fight it again.
And now you gotta.
And so I never thought about that. And then he's like, "Well, I can't reward myself.
Yeah.
I can't buy
Does
drugs."
it stop at that one piece of cake?
Exactly.
It doesn't. I know it
Exactly.
doesn't. I mean, they'll tell you the story. I bought a whole cake.
Yeah.
I ate a piece through the rest of the garbage. I dug it out of the trash can later,
Wow.
and I ate the whole cake that night.
I hate it.
I was like, "I don't need this. Why did I do
She had a
it?"
little mustard and ketchup on that cake at that
Really?
point.
It was still
That's
in a
gross.
plastic container, but think about it. Like, I had one piece. I felt guilty for doing that, and I'm like, all right, throw this shit away. You don't need it. And I'm sitting on my sofa watching TV. I'm like, shit, that cake's in the trash. That cake's...
Mhm.
And I deliberately, I guess, subconsciously put the lid on it so that...
No, damn well you're
No
gonna
way
go
you're
dig it
going
out later.
And
You
I'm
set
sit-
yourself
yeah.
up for
And
failure.
I'm sitting on the sofa, and I'm thinking, that cake's fine. Like, and I got out, and the icing was on the lid, and I licked the icing off and I ate the whole thing. Like, in one day, I ate a whole cake. Like, that's addiction.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And your addictive personalities will come out in different areas of your life once
Yeah.
you stop using. Like for myself, it's everything. I'll get one tattoo. It's never one tattoo. You know what I mean? And when my pre-workout, it says on the container, take one scoop. The drug addict in me goes, well, if one is good, 2.5 is going to be great. You know what I mean? So I'm doing 2.5. It's just how I am with everything.
Yeah.
It says on the bottle, two ibuprofens. I'm taking 4.
Yeah.
It's just the way I
Well, they just-
am.
I feel
That's
like they're
me.
just lying to you. That's bullshit. Too.
That's me.
One scoop, that's not enough.
I get it.
Yeah, so
Like,
once the drugs and alcohol is out of the equation, it's just other things you got to work through in life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because that was our drugs and alcohol. I always thought that's the problem. If I just stop using and stop drinking, it's all gonna be good. It's not. I was the problem. Drugs and alcohol was the way I was dealing with my problems. My problems were still there. I'm still insecure as hell. I'm still not good at certain things. You know what I mean? I have anxiety. Just because the drugs and alcohol ain't there, my problems are even more prevalent now. And it's how you work through them and how you deal with it, how the way life affects you. You know what I mean? And that's what's got to change. You know what I mean?
What does Bob always say?
Finding an effective way to change the way life affects you.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So like, you're doing good on any certain day, but when the heat in the oven's turned up, how are you going to react? Are you going to run and drink a beer like you always did? Or are you going to run and shoot dope just because you're having a bad day? You know what I mean? How do you get through it?
Yeah, I recommend having a support group. You know what I mean? Having people that you can call, that have your back and understand, when things go wrong or things happen, pick up the phone. So if you need help or support, have those people. Call them. We want to help.
Yep.
So
24/7.
exactly. Don't be afraid. That's what I could, should tell people. Don't be afraid. We don't look down on you or judge you. We want to help. You know what I mean? If you need help, call somebody.
You guys recommend anybody?
Myself,
Like,
Kathy,
okay.
anybody,
Like
you
anybody?
guys, if you guys know.
Yeah, I typically refer them to their sponsor or like
Well,
I can listen.
Yeah, but if they don't have
But
one,
like I would refer them to someone.
I'm saying
like
for somebody
Teo
that's
or
like, if
somebody.
they're listening right now and they want help, like, is there somebody like
Organization or
like
something.
an organization they call?
Not one more
or-
maybe or something like that, or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always organizations. I mean, you need to find a like-minded group of people like yourself. And the best spot that I've found is NA, AA. I know a lot of people don't like it and think that
Or
God's
message.
associated with it, but it's not. And you got to be very careful who you tell. Because if I'm feeling like using and I go to an AA meeting, pick some freaking Joe Schmo sitting in the back row sitting on his phone, and I tell him, yo, dude, I'm really thinking about using, he's going to be like, all right, I got the guy. You know what I mean? I got money. Let's go. You got to be very careful who you tell. You know what I mean? Because someone that's going to co-sign your shit right away, like, yeah, let's go.
That's
He
not
was
who you
already on the
need.
verge. You were on the verge, and now two dead batteries won't start a car. So you know what I mean? Then you're just fucked. You got to tell someone that's going to be there for you. Like mine's my brother. Mine's
Yep.
Bob. You know what I mean? Like the guy, my landlord that runs my house I live at. You know what I mean? I can always call them, and they'll have the right information to try to get me out of my head.
Yep. Awesome.
Yep, or message on here, the Silence the Stigma, message on here that you need help, or there's a bunch of other ones. The end addiction of stigma too. That's a good one too. People reach out to people respond, and they're quick. I'm on there as well. If anybody needs help, please reach out. One of us will get to you, and don't feel like you have no one or anybody to turn to because we're there. We've been through it. We just want to help.
Awesome.
All right. So before we wrap this up, I got one more question. What kind of things? I know you guys kind of touched on it as far as like bad days and stuff like that, but what kind of things trigger you guys to wanna do it, wanna use? I know you-
Success. Since I've gotten sober, I've used not when I'm having bad days. I can handle my bad days. It's when I'm doing good. Like you said, the chocolate cake, I reward myself. I feel like I earned it. You know what I mean? I'll go to work. I'll work as much as I can. And then it's like, you know what? I got a day off. I got money in the bank. I got everything I need. I can have a beer. You know what I mean? And the longer you're sober, the more you trick yourself. Oh, I've got this. I can drink differently now. Knowing damn well it's not true. I'm going to be passed out in 3 hours. You know what I mean? Feeling like shit again.
What about you,
Insanity. It's the insanity of doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome.
What's your
just
triggers?
like that? Extreme boredom. Boredom and people. Depends on who I'm around. Just I've got some pot or got something. It all starts little. Very little. And for me, it's always boredom. I'm bored sitting at home. Well, let's spice it up a little bit, But, I mean, that's a big trigger for me, too.
So you guys, it doesn't really trigger you sitting here talking about your experiences?
No.
Because that was like a big question when I first came to you guys. Like, I didn't want you guys to like trigger yourselves into doing it just because we're talking about it.
Yeah, let's wait until the end of the podcast to ask that question, Austin.
What do you mean?
You're perfect timing on this,
Well,
bro.
I gave them a chance. They accepted the opportunity, so right there is kind of my answer. But I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
No,
it depends.
nothing.
It depends who you're talking to and how far along they are in their sobriety and where they're at in their sobriety. If they're on the verge, like, I kind of want to be sober. I kind of want to use. I'm not real sure. You know what I mean? Fuck it.
Yeah.
And if you start talking about it, you know what I mean? Their hands will start getting sweaty and they're like, oh man, dude. You know what I mean? It's real like on their mind. But like us, I mean, he's got a lot more sober time than I do, but like I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? I want to be sober. You know what I mean? I have slip ups, but like for the most part, you know what I mean? I want to be sober, so this doesn't affect me at all.
Okay.
These are all just reminders of why I'm sober. You know what I mean? These are all good things. Why I'm sober. Talking about the bad things, but also the good things. Why I did what I did to get sober. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up. I just was curious if anything triggered, like what triggered it. But I want to say thank you guys for being on this episode. I mean, if you guys feel welcome to come back for another one, part 2, part 3, we'll talk about some more.
I'm all about it. Whenever you guys want to have us, I'll be here as many times as you guys want.
Yeah, like it gives me chills just sitting here listening to your guys' story. I mean, it's powerful. I respect you guys. You guys go through, believe it or not, I feel like more than I have, and go through more pain and stuff like that. And the strength and will it takes to get through that is unbelievable. I mean, I can't compare to anything. So I want to just say thank you guys. Do you guys have anything to say, Dylan, Mom?
I just gotta say thank you. Thanks for coming out, telling
no
your
problem.
story.
No, I appreciate it. Like, this is the world to me. Like,
This is her passion. This is my mom's passion right here.
Like, 3 years ago, for first 3 years, I felt sorry for myself. And then finally, I'm like, I'm going to do something. Like, I want to help people. That's just my nature. They always laugh. And we just talked about this last week, like the sparkle in my eye when I can help people. Like, I'm passionate and I appreciate it. And if there's anybody that you think could benefit from it or that we should talk to, like, you can bring other people.
Yeah.
You know, whatever information you want to give to us. I have to laugh because Dom, when we first sat down, like, he looked so panicked.
Dude, I was nervous, real nervous.
It's not bad, right?
No,
it's not bad at all. And so every little bit, like, my goal is I don't need 1 million followers to be successful. If I can help one person, if we can help one user, if I can help one family, like the last podcast, like what happened that day, if that's not powerful enough for somebody to say, you know what, like, I don't want my family to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want them to have to experience that. One of the things that people are commenting that I'm trying, like, I appreciate that it is helping us and it's helping us heal, but we're not doing this podcast to help us.
Yeah.
We're trying to prevent it from happening to other people, and by hearing our story and your story. So, like, I 100% appreciate this. And like I said, if there's anybody else that you think, or any topics that you think would help either the family or users, like, let us know. Like, I'm going to start a thing with the moms. Like, I'm really, I want to talk to your mom. Like, moms go through hell through this. You know, I didn't have the experience that your mom had. But they're different experiences. So
I think it'd be great to have her on. I know she would love to do it. So if we can, we'll set
something up.
Yeah, you guys have both experienced it in different ways.
Yep.
My mom's never had to bury a son, so that's a whole nother aspect
Yep.
that she's never had to go down, you know?
Yep. And that's difficult, and that's a whole other topic, and I would love to share that and get your mom's input on what she had to go through. So thank you guys.
Yeah, again, thank you.
Yeah, you're
Thanks
welcome.
for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.